Welcome to the second video in my Inktober journey, and we start this video off today with day 4, exotic. When I think of exotic, my mind goes straight to geishas and the Japanese people for some reason. So for this prompt, I went with a geisha with cherry blossoms growing out of her. But did you know that there was a killer geisha? Her name was Sada Abe, and she killed her lover, Kachizo Ishida, on the 18th of May, 1936. The 31-year-old at the time was at the Tokyo Inn with 42-year-old Kachizo when she strangled him, cut off his genitals with a knife, carved her name into his leg, and used his blood to write on his body and the bedsheets, Sada Kichi together. Sada was a geisha until she contracted syphilis, which then plunged her into an illegal prostitution. But by 1936, she wanted a change of lifestyle and got a job at a restaurant that was owned by Kachizo. It didn't take long for Kachizo to notice her, and they started their love affair. But Kachizo was married, and his wife ran the restaurant. Sada and Kachizo would go to hotels and have marathon sex for days until one day Sada wanted Kachizo all to herself and wanted to be his wife. So she threatened him with a knife, but he just smiled at her and he smoothed things over with her with another 2-day sex marathon. But this is when Sada took off her kimono tie and started strangling Kachizo with it. Apparently Kachizo did like to be strangled, but Sada went too far and strangled him to death, followed by cutting off his penis and then wrapping it in a magazine cover. She disappeared from the hotel and went into hiding to off herself, but she was found. She confessed, saying that she loved Kachizo so much that she didn't want anyone else to have him, and while he was alive, he would always be with another woman. She went to prison but was released in 1940 for being a model prisoner, and she stayed famous and in the public eye for the rest of her life until her death in the 1970s. Now the illustration that I did, this one's not my favorite, but I tried to just do like this mutant geisha type woman that's been just cut off at the shoulders, and she has all these cherry blossoms growing out of her neck, out of her head, and that's basically all this one really is. I ended up using some pink ink for the flowers on the cherry blossom, which is like the worst color. I hate pink. Pink is not something that I like to use, but I do like to use it in the right context when I sort of have to, which is in this case for the cherry blossoms, which is very, the stereotypical of them being pink. So I used a bit of pink on there, used a bit of the red one, which I have been using across all these illustrations, and I have been trying to make a habit of using the red ink in all the illustrations too. I'm challenging myself and trying to basically make as many illustrations, or make all the illustrations with some sort of blood in them. So that's the challenge I'm doing for myself. But I'll let you watch the rest of this one, and I will be back in a moment for the next prompt in today's video. Day 5 is binoculars, and what came to mind was finding out if anyone had ever been killed with binoculars, and surprisingly, I did find a story. In August of 2016, a 34-year-old British man named David Taylor was in Bali, Indonesia, when he struck a police officer in the head twice with binoculars, which ended up killing him from swelling to the brain, which apparently took 2 to 4 hours after being attacked. David claimed he was pushed by the 53-year-old police officer named Wayne Sudasa, who infuriated David and led to him killing Wayne with Wayne's own binoculars that were around his neck. They left his battered body on the Kuta beach, which is a popular tourist spot, where his body was found by a security guard named Wayne Gunawan, and David and his 45-year-old Australian girlfriend Sarah Connor were arrested 2 days later. It apparently all came about when Sarah was looking for her lost bag and Wayne was laying face down on the beach when the couple approached him and asked him if he had seen her bag or if he had taken it, and Wayne just launched at her and bit her leg and hand and then started pushing David over and over again. Wayne had 17 blows to his head from the binoculars and 25 wounds on the rest of his body inflicted by a broken beer bottle and mobile phone, and the couple took Wayne's ID cards and cut them up and disposed of them. David went to jail but was apparently released in 2021 and deported back to the UK. Sarah served just under 4 years and was deported back to Australia in July of 2020. Now, the illustration that I did for this particular prompt was something of a bit of a weird one. This was just an image that popped into my head of this creature that's been cut off at the torso and has been threaded onto some sort of like binoculars stand, which I actually Googled, and apparently binoculars do come with a stand, and this is what it kind of looked like, so I decided to add that to the illustration that's going up the center of this monster. And the monster has got a set of binoculars basically stuck to its eyes, and this is how it sees. It looks around and it's like looking up, but it's not anything comfortable because he's bleeding from the eyes where these binoculars have been placed into his eyes, and he's also bleeding from the torso because obviously he's been cut. Just imagine having a set of binoculars glued to your eyes and then that's all you can see out of. I reckon that'd be horrible. Absolutely horrible. But anyway, I'll let you watch the rest of this one and I will be back in a moment for the final prompt in this video today. Day 6 is trek, and what came to mind when thinking of trek was the most difficult and highest road in India, called the Kadang La Pass. Once you do the arduous trek up there, you will have spectacular views of Nubra Valley, but the road is rough, slippery, and has a lot of hairpin turns. It sits 5,602 meters above sea level, which is very high, and the pass has claimed quite a few lives. 4 Delhi tourists died on this stretch of road in 2022 when their car skidded off the road into a deep gorge that was roughly 46 meters deep. The group was apparently going to Leh from Nubra when the accident happened. It was also apparently a heavy snow-filled day, which made the roads even more dangerous to travel on. In May of this year, 2 teachers died in a car accident on the pass who were on their way to do their second and third phase of election training. In January 2019, 2 trucks that were carrying 10 civilians were covered by an avalanche on the pass and were all buried roughly 6 meters under snow. Unfortunately, all 10 people died. It really does sound like a road that you just wouldn't want to travel on in India, especially in the winter. Now, the illustration that I decided to do for this prompt today is one that I really don't like. This was probably one of the worst ones I think I've done so far, but I sort of just had this image of this tree just uprooting and trekking across to a different location. There has actually been videos on TikTok which I do think are fake, and they do, and they have been like doctored, or there's been some sort of like, what do you call it, like strings and that, or something dragging these trees, where there's been these trees moving and people reckon they film these trees actually uprooting and walking in the forest, which I can't buy into that, but you know, anything's possible in this fucking world we live in. So yeah, that sort of just came to mind, that this, you know, just this tree's just uprooted and it's just gone, yeah, I'm just gonna go live somewhere else and I'm gonna do a big trek somewhere else. And he's just got like a little bit of blood on him from where the tree roots are like dug into him, and he's obviously a bit sore because he's had to pull all his roots out and relocate and that. But yeah, that's it. But yeah, I really don't like this one at all. It's just rubbish. But hey, that's what happens in this process. There's every year that I do this, there's always illustrations that I absolutely hate, and then there's illustrations that I don't mind. Because you have to draw so many of these illustrations, like you've got to draw 31 of them. They're nowhere near masterpieces, that's for sure, because like I've got to just draw one, get it out of the way and prepare for the next one, basically. As you know, I'm not a very detailed artist anyway. I'm very like cartoony and that type of shit anyway. I just don't spend long on these drawings just so I can get them out. Like they're all very sort of simple drawings that, you know, that I like to get out for this time of the year, for Inktober. But anyway, that is it from me today. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. Dislike it, I really couldn't care less what you do, because any interaction that you give me goes towards the algorithm for other people to find me. And hopefully I'll see you in the next Inktober video, which will be in a couple of days. Bye.